everybody, welcome back to the highest octane esports professional you have ever seen on this website. Look, there's your seed. I just went to twitch.tv. Fair enough. And there was a stream with 4,600 people watching two 11-year-olds face off in the World Junior Pokemon Championship. I'm not saying that's not esports. All I'm saying is if that's esports, this is freaking esports too, okay? They're both esports. I'm not, by the way, you know, when it comes to age, you know, if you have like an NBA basketball championship, you got a team of fully grown adult professional athletes versus a team of 11-year-old prodigies, I'm betting on the fully grown adults every time. In a game of thinking, I'm betting on the adults, probably. However, I gotta admit, you know, I'm not saying kids have an advantage. They don't have as much of a disadvantage, though. And I'd take it from somebody that played, you know, I don't even know. We might actually prefer to hold the D4 for safety right now. Take it from somebody that played chess at a, you know, semi-competitive level when he was younger. You know, I was rocking that 14, 15, 16, 1700 ELO and perfs back in like 7th and 8th grade. You know, the number you at the chess club I went to, sometimes, you know, there were good older players for sure, but sometimes you draw a match against the, you know, 75-year-old dude. You don't go, oh, I'm screwed. He's had so much life experience. You go, this dummy is wasting all his time hugging his grandkids, unlike me reading all of Bruce Pandolfini's books. I got him. And sometimes you match up against, you know, a kid that is 4 years younger than you, but is going places from a competitive chess standpoint, and you go, oh no. Speaking of oh no, playing this one real tight to the vest, because we did take a hit early. It's a good haunt for us, to be honest. Because of the fact, nicely done. Whew. Because of the fact that it doesn't shoot beams, which are like pretty close to instant. So, you can run into trouble real quickly there. This would be a great time for a black market, dude. Unlikely. So many dirty rooms. Come on. Have some self-respect here. Anyway. It's true, though, you know, playing chess, it teaches you not to judge a book by its cover in all situations. This is why I'm saying. There's no doubt, by the way, those kids would smoke me in Pokemon. I watched about 2 minutes. I didn't understand anything that was happening. Mostly because I only play Pokemon Go, which is, you know, a casual game for babies. But that's kind of why I like it, to be honest. Look, I'm a core gamer. I'm hip. I'm with it. However, I like that, you know, there's also a game out there that was like, hey, look, there's a little cute Pokemon spawned 100 meters away from you. Why don't you go pick it up? I might be a little biased because I'm pretty sure I have Vancouver's first Garchomp. What can I say? I'm really good at hatching my 10-kilometer eggs into Gibbles, a Pokemon I didn't know existed before a month ago. Anyway, what was I talking about? Grandpa, this video's been going for 80 years! Okay, Tractor Beam's a real nice DPS upgrade. Dim Bulb is worth nothing right now, but if we get a spacebar item that's worth using, then it is a little bit of a bonus. In fact, if we could just get rid of our spacebar item, I think it's a big bonus, but let's not worry about that too much. I can't believe we're on 7 lost wins in a row. It's like surprising to me, but also very special. As I said earlier, and trust me, I am not counting my chickens to any degree. But I said earlier, if we could hit 10 wins in a row, it would be like, not unprecedented, but that would be like A+ level for me, personally. That's 10 runs without a catastrophic mistake, which is, you know, normally we have like 1 or 2 per episode, but because you have HP, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, Toothpicks, also very helpful. Whore of Babylon also should be very helpful when we leave the room, I think. Yeah. And then the real benefit of Book of Satanic Bible, sorry. Brain's a little slow on the lookups today. The real benefit there is, you know, once every 6 rooms, we can get a stat bonus for a bit. It's not very useful at all, but let's see what happens, you know? The other thing is we could end up requiring a respawn, in which case I think we would be stoked. Yeah, you lose it all after 1 charge, huh? I thought maybe it would have like a gradient, like we'd have lower stat ups, but still stat ups nonetheless. Oh well, life goes on. To be honest, it's probably better for us, at least for this room, to take this. I recognize, by the way, we've been talking a lot about Isaac because we've been doing these Lost runs. The banter, it comes and goes depending on the difficulty of the run, you know what I mean? So, it's nice to be actually, in my opinion at least, a little bit more focused on the actual gameplay aspects in Isaac, something that hasn't happened necessarily for a while here. I think we do want this, actually. Get the moon? Yeah, I think we'd rather have the moon card. Plus, we know we're going to get blank card at some point anyway, because it is a Lost run, and apparently that shows up on every single run, so... But yeah, you know, it's, I gotta tell you, this is, I feel like for about 2 weeks, I've been in a bit of a holding pattern when it comes to, YouTube content, and the levee has broken. Slay the Spire, for the first time in, like, literally 5 months, we've made incredible progress in Slay the Spire. And then also, dude, F1 and Mario Maker come out this week. Oh, baby. It's probably bad form to be talking about other games while playing a game. But at the same time, you know where we're at with Isaac. We're waiting on the new DLC. We're keeping ourselves frosty. Frosty's good, right? I don't know, because they always, it's like a military thing, right? They say stay frosty. For me, I would think that, wouldn't you want to, you want to stay warmed up? I get you don't want to overheat, because then you end up, you know, with perhaps an incident. You don't want to be too twitchy. Trust me, as somebody who's been playing some Escape from Tarkov, and has been the victim of several friendly fire-related incidents. I don't want to say that you should always keep yourself as hopped up as possible. I'm just saying. Stay frosty. It seems like your tendons are not going to be warmed up. I do have to say, by the way, I'm pretty much... My enjoyment of Tarkov still exists. I still think that's a good game. My desire to play it has dropped off to, like, 0. You know what, and I'll tell you what it was, because if you watch all the content, if you're a true Lion Cub superfan, you watch Team Unity Tuesday. I got hit by a couple of friendly fire incidents, and it seemed to turn the tone of the show emotionally. A lot of people think that I was being a baby, which is fair, and I don't mean that dismissively. I think it is fair. And they're like, why were you, you know, upset that you got TK'd? It happens. I want to be clear that after giving it some thought, it wasn't like I was bawling or anything. I was, you know, I was annoyed is the best way to describe it. The reason I was annoyed was not that one of my friends team killed me in a game where it's, you know, that's something that happens from time to time. The reason I was annoyed was that I got team killed in a game where we don't banter because like 95% of our communication revolves around, is that you? Is that, I'm wearing a beanie, is that you? Do the wiggle dance if that's you. So like if all of our discourse was related to identifying each other in the wild, but we didn't accidentally tap each other in the back of the head, it wouldn't be a problem. It's just frustrating to, like, you know, feel like you're not able to get into the banter-rich subjects and then also get popped in the head as a result. And that's, like, to be honest, this sounds like a cop-out, but that's nobody's fault, sincerely. It's not Tarkov's fault. Because that's the point of the game, is that it's more slightly simulation heavy, you know? It's got like a little Arma enthusiast thing going on there. Okay. I was hoping we get a deal with the devil, but our stats are good here. It's not Dan Mouth, you know, I mean, Austin didn't kill me. It's not their fault. I mean, it is their fault, because, I mean, they were the one who clicked the left mouse button, but simultaneously, it's understandable that, like, you know, sometimes when you see a person in that game, your first instinct is like, blam, got him. And then, you know, it's not my fault either, because, you know, you can't spend your whole life calling out your position at all times. Maybe if we were actually, like, you know, good at the game, you might consider that, but because of the fact that we're kind of just a ragtag crew of mercenaries, I don't want to try hard it to the point that it's not entertaining for the audience. You know, I don't care what my stash value is. So today's Sunday. I haven't played Tarkov since, I mean, basically since Tuesday. And by basically, I don't know why I said basically. I softened the blow. I haven't played it literally since Tuesday. Will it show up in 2-man or 3-man content again in the future? It's possible. I still think the game is a special game. Ah! Let me caffeinate. Bro, that sucks. Alright, Eden. Okay. Well, you know, again, it was fun while it lasted. BY9K67B1. It's cruel mistress. What did we learn? I think we learned a very valuable lesson. As the Lost, never use never do anything. No, never use judgment. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like I could give the advice like, you know, slow down, but that's not why I'm playing, and that's not why you're watching. I've been thinking about that lately. The horse and cart of like online content creation. And the central paradox at the heart of why people watch some of my content. Do you watch to see a man who's entertaining because of what he says? Do you watch to see a man who's good at the game and is entertaining as a result of that? Or do you watch to see a man who's bad at the game? And if you watch to see a man who's bad at the game, what should my focus be? Should it be getting better? Should it be embracing the weird style of play? Or is that all irrelevant and it's all about the podcasting elements? You know, I think about this stuff. I come into episodes, and my whole shtick, you know, my philosophy, what's in my mind when I start these episodes is that, you know, I'm creating entertainment. This is not, I'm not being defensive, I'm just saying, like, you know, that's the core value. And of course, you know, it wouldn't be a Northernlion video if I didn't talk down to my, you know, other people that do this job. But there were streamers and YouTubers out there. I would say more streamers. YouTubers, like, the way that the platform works, if you want to get attention, you kind of have to have, not necessarily well-produced videos, but they have to be an event of some sort, or a routine for that matter. I don't think this is worth it. But I do think there's some streamers out there, and some people really like this style of content. I don't really, for the most part, but I've been caught off guard. Sometimes I can get into it, but I think there's some streamers who essentially go live, and they're live for 7 or 8 hours, and that's like their day. They're not really like, I'm gonna go live to entertain people. They're like, I have to go live between X time and X time, but I'm just gonna do what I would be doing if I were off camera as well. And we'll just have like casual conversations. We're not gonna, you know, really focus on embellishing anything to make the product outwardly entertaining, if that makes sense. I kind of see it as more like they're like the MC at like a coffee shop or something like that. Instead of it being like, you know, we're in the arena and, you know, you're watching the funny man try to entertain you. Now that's the kind of content I want to make. It's like, I don't necessarily want to be funny at all times, but I definitely want to be entertaining. I don't want I mean, if you come out of these videos and you're like, I'm intellectually stimulated, obviously I'm not disappointed by that. It's flattering, although I'm also like, dude, you gotta read like some real intellectuals, because I'm not necessarily a smart man. I just speak eloquently and have opinions, you know, and I think that it's easy for people to get confused between the two of those. I don't know which of those we want. Now remember, we're not the Lost, we can't fly, so I think you just take that, and why not? Let's move along here. So that's been the send, and I think it's part of the reason the content works, to be honest. It's part of the reason, yo, that's very lucky for me. Part of the reason that, like, my YouTube channel works, my Twitch channel works, is like there's this dichotomy of like, the man's trying to be entertaining. I find him entertaining. What I don't find entertaining is the mistake that he made in this video game that he was using as a conduit to also conjure some entertaining thought. It's a bizarre thing, but it's almost, I've come to see it, it's almost like kayfabe. Is that, I don't know if that's the way it's pronounced, but you know, the rules that govern the theater of wrestling. It's all, like, I make these videos mostly to provide enjoyment and entertainment through the commentary. But then we've all got to pretend that I'm trying to be an esports level player. And then I break it sometimes too. Like in Slay the Spire, I was like, man, I'm getting real frustrated. I want to win this stuff. But, you know, it's just bizarre is what I'm trying to get at. And then the other part is that we say I'm bad at games even though I'm actually like the best. Probably on planet Earth, to be honest. You'll see when Mario Maker comes out. You'll all freaking see. That's why I'm so mad at speedrunners, dude. They blew out the curve, okay? I was good at video games growing up. I've said it many times. Now, have I lost a step? I honestly think that, yeah, I've probably lost a step, mostly because I'm not spending 10 hours a day playing whatever's popular. You know, instead, I'm like, yeah, sure, let's try A20 again. But beyond that, now that the internet's out there, people are streaming themselves, like every minute of gameplay is streamed at all times. The truly, you know, 1 in 10,000 level player is more apparent. You know what you had to be to get a good a reputation for being good at video games back in the day, before, you know, Twitch existed, YouTube existed, etc., etc. You had to be like the best out of your 4 friends, or even second best. You'd probably get a little respect, as you had to be in the top 25%. That's it. Then when, like, you know, Xbox Live came out, lobbies were like 8 people. If you could be the best out of 8, people were like, yo, dude, you should consider going pro. Now, if you're the best out of 8 people, you know what you're called? Silver. You're garbage. If you're the best out of 16, you're like, he's okay. Yo, now we got an item. Now we got a squad. You gotta be like the best. Even if you're the best out of 100. Austin's out here, he's winning like 10% of the 1 versus 100 PUBG games he gets involved with, and he's like, I'm pretty bad. So that's what you've done to my boy. The spotlighting of the people that are otherworldly has made the not otherworldly but truly great gamers self-conscious, and for that I'll never forgive you. I'll never forgive you. Unless you top right. Hey, hey, hey! You're going too fast here. Do you see the speed of the bullets? It's like we're playing Enter the Gungeon. Very lucky. By the way, this run is good, but is also bad. We need one thing. A good tiers upgrade would take this to Funky Town in a good way. Is it always a good way if you go to Funky Town? I don't know. Okay, speed upgrade. Ironic. This is a hard one. I think we have to take Eye of Belial to raise our damage, but obviously it puts us in a real tricky position here. Oh well. As we were just playing as a Lost. It's fun. But you'll all see when Mario Maker comes out. Again, I'm not being anti-speedrunner. I'm playing a joke, but because of all y'all who can beat, you know, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time in 37 minutes, every other streamer on this friggin' planet has to, whenever you get stuck on a puzzle, well, the world's best speedrunner beat the game in 36 seconds. Yeah, well, you know what? The world's best speedrunner plays Ocarina of Time for 17 hours a day for the past 22 years. Okay? I can't... You know Usain Bolt, he can run a 100-meter dash in like 9.6 seconds. People... I brought this up on stream the other day. People were like, Usain Bolt's retired now. Oh, you think he... I mean, he's not... He's a professional soccer player, but... You think he's lost the ability to do a 100-yard dash faster than you? Faster than any, like, collegiate athlete in the United States of America, bare minimum? I don't think so. I just walked over here. Doesn't mean just because Usain Bolt... Why don't you just run fast? You know, it takes skill. It takes practice. If anything, you're betraying the credit of the speedrunner, all the work that they've done, you know? You know, when I've been playing Punch-Out, there's like, on some of the enemies, there's like a 4-frame window to get a hit. And it feels to me like it's, you're trying to... Hold on, I'm just a little frightened here. It feels to me like you're trying to, you know, shoot an arrow off the top, or an apple off the top of somebody's head with an arrow while they're like on a moving train and the wind is going at like 75 miles an hour. Streamers, or not streamers, speedrunners do that. Why wouldn't you heal? Especially against enemies like these, dude. Help me. Now you heal. Speedrunners do that, but they do it like, yeah, there's a 1 in 60 chance that you get this to work. Oh, we did it. And then there's like muted applause in the rest of the audience. Like, yeah, I knew he was gonna do it. It's not that hard. It's amazing to me. I'm bringing up speedrunning a lot because, I mean, 2 reasons. One of which is Mario Maker's coming out, which is not necessarily speedrunner focused, but sure. You know, it's got that vibe. And then, secondarily, yep, sure, just kill me. Just kill me, dude. I'm ready to go. I did it to myself. That's the frustrating part, for sure. But, then also, like, SGDQ is this week, I think. I'm just gonna level with you. It's been like a bad morning for videos. Having one of those days. I'm not gonna blame it on having a little bit of poor sleep quality, but I mean, I'm just throwing it out there for maybe some mercy from the court. I did sleep really badly. Not due to any, like, you know, anxiety, just, one of those weird sleeps where you're like, I should be asleep. I'm tired. I got nothing on my mind. Why am I not asleep? And meanwhile, it's like one of those weird, like, half consciousnesses, you know what I mean? Where, like, I have, like, an audiobook on in the background. I remember nothing about what has been said in the audiobook for the past, I don't know, 20 minutes. But I also have definitely not been asleep during that. It's weird. You're like, I've been listening to this guy talk for 25 minutes. I remember nothing, but at the same time, I definitely was not unconscious. You spend like your whole night in this weird like pseudo half sleep. Anyway, we're just playing Isaac. We're just spitballing. I also did some truly terrible Gungeon runs this morning. That's what I get for trying to do the challenge rooms, though. We should just stick with the stuff that's already deeply embedded in the muscle memory. So I'm dumb. We should go to the shop, because the shop with Mr. Me Too, or whatever the heck this is called, is well worth it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yo! Big money. I love it. Today's Sunday, as mentioned. Let me caffeinate a little. My parents are in town. It's been nice just hanging out with them, shooting the breeze. I don't know if we want to go in there just yet. But it does mean, I wouldn't say I'm anecdote dry, but like, you know, just hanging out with my folks. We don't, sounds weird. We always, my parents and I, we struggle to find activities to do. My parents are a lot like me, or I guess perhaps vice versa. We don't hate fun. It's hard to explain to people that are not us. It's not that we hate fun, it's just that we have so much fun doing very little that other stuff doesn't seem like it has to be done in order to be that fun. You know what I mean? We're the kind of people, you know, if you were like, hey, you want to go skydiving? We'd be like, no, are you crazy? We'd be like, you want to go see a movie? Yeah, let's do it. That's not that rare. I don't think I'm doing a good job of explaining it, but we always end up in the same situation where, like, you know, weeks before they come here, or even like weeks before we go there, they're like, hey, look up some cool stuff that we can do. And then when we get here, we're like, or when we meet up, we're like, hey, we got like this list of things that might be cool. One or both parties is like, you know, let's see how we feel about it tomorrow. For now, let's just go get a nice dinner. And then, you know, after dinner, we're like, it's just nice to hang out. It sounds lame, but I don't see it as lame. I see it as, you know, you enjoy each other's company. You don't need to necessarily go to Great Wolf Lodge. Not that I would turn up my nose at it, but you get what I mean? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. We're homebodies. That's what it comes down to. You always, when you're a homebody, especially if you're younger, you always have to be defensive about it. You know, people, they'll always try to, I think media does it gaslights introverts to some extent into, you know, believing that being extroverted is like the natural position for human beings, and if you're an introvert, it's just because like nobody showed you the light yet. You know, there's so many movies and, you know, plays and books where there's like, oh, she's a quiet girl, but you know, she dreams of being a princess, and then when she becomes a princess, you know, her life is all set for her and stuff like that. You know, dude, being an introvert is totally fine. It kind of rules. I take, you know how much pleasure I take in, you know, getting up in the morning? It's hard to explain without sounding extraordinarily lame, but like when I wake up in the morning and I feel good, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. That's like my day right there. As lame as it sounds, if nothing else happened today, I would still have like a 10 out of 10 day. Just from the fact that I woke up feeling so positive. That's, if anything, I'm like, dude, extroverts, y'all got it hard. You're always, you gotta do all this increasingly thrill-seeking stuff in order to be entertained. You know, I feel great pity for that. That you don't get the same level of kind of like innate entertainment out of just like, you know, eating a good meal. Instead, it's always got to be like, yeah, I mean, I've had good food, but have you ever had good food at a restaurant that rotates? I feel a sense of sympathy for adrenaline junkies, that in order to keep getting high on life, they gotta, you know, do a Vin Diesel, drive their sports car off a bridge, and then, you know, base jump out of the drop-top convertible. So I have people sometimes when I talk about, I'm old, I'm 30, in videos, they tweet me and they feel the need to save me. And inevitably they always tweet me like, hey man, just because you're 30 doesn't mean you can't do cool stuff. For example, I'm 30 and I do cool thing all the time. I don't want to make you feel bad. But what you tweet me and say is cool, every time I look at it, I go, that's not really what I want to do with my time. More power to you, but also mind your own business. I mean, you're the one making the suggestion in the first place. It's not dismissive for me to say no to that, you know? You know, I've lived on this planet for long enough. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. All I've been doing lately is, oh, that was close. Acknowledging what I don't like more than I used to. Because I don't know if this relates to a lot of people. I'm assuming it probably does. But I grew up, my family and I are both very polite. It's a, Canadian, I don't want to say tradition, but, it's a big part of the Canadian value scheme is being outwardly polite to people and then behind their back being like, what's wrong with this hoser, right? So, like, I have a hard time, even now, saying no. And it's kind of like, it's a toxic situation when you're even, as meager of a public figure as I am. Excuse me, sir. Because people ask you things that are not, like, unfair, but enough people ask you that, if you said yes to everything, you would literally have no time for yourself, And I don't mean like, hey, my game's coming out, can you do a video on it? But I mean like, you get like 20 or 30 unsolicited emails a day. You know what? We should have Mr. Misik that. My brain is not in the right Isaac position right now. You get 20 or 30 unsolicited emails a day, and I'm like, when I say like, I don't respond to them, people are like, you're a jerk. I'm like, dude, once you start getting 20 or 30 unsolicited emails a day, and you got other things going on in your life, you wouldn't want to reply to them either. Anybody can email you. The email is on the Twitter account, Why would you take piercing shots? Dude, I apologize. I'm freaking busted right now. Let's go see what's going on in this shop here. But, it's still hard for me to say no, which is why I just, actively don't reply to begin with. Fairly or otherwise. Okay, let's buy this. And then I think, try that. Okay, it didn't work, then grab this. So it has been harder for me. It's hard for me to outwardly say no. People are like, hey, do you want to do this? My first reaction is like, maybe I don't, but if I say no now, they're going to feel bad. If I say, yeah, sure, maybe let's do it, then maybe they'll forget about it or decide that they don't want to do it later. And I'll be the first to admit, it doesn't stand up to logical scrutiny. It's a bad habit, but it comes from a desire to, please people. You got to realize, saying no, I've been conditioned somehow. I can't tease it apart, but, the original origin of it. But saying no is like, it's seen as selfish, when in reality, sometimes it's actually just the right thing to do so that you don't get people's hopes up. But this has nothing to do with the Evangelion podcast, I promise you. But then, like, the other thing is, I was talking about it with Kate the other day. Because I don't like to say no, sometimes I also have been hesitant about asking other people to do things. Because my initial reaction, on a deep-seated instinctual level, is that they're not going to want to do it. But if I ask them, they're not going to want to say no. They might just feel compelled because, it depends on the situation. Like, maybe they're like, we're friends, so they'll do it anyway just to make me happy. Or maybe, I'm the biggest YouTuber in the group, so they'll be like, oh, we have to do it because Mr. Big Shot wants to do it, so I just end up not asking anybody to do anything. You son of a gun. I was talking about it with Kate, and I directly complimented her on this. Kate is like my inverse, which is one of the reasons our relationship works so well. She is like not afraid to say no, and she's not afraid to say like what she wants, which is why it's actually like really refreshing as a more deferential person in most circumstances, because it means that I can like ask her to do things, and definitely if she doesn't want to do it, she's just gonna be like, nah, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, that's fine. I have no fear of like, oh, the thing that I want to do is gonna get rejected. It's much more like, I don't want somebody to feel compelled to do something just because, I offered it up there. It's nice to have someone who's like, nah. That way you're like, okay, I don't feel like I've coerced you into something. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe this that, yikes, comes across a little better. But imagine you recommended like a restaurant to somebody, and you're like, oh, you gotta go here, they have the best blah. Then you take them to the restaurant. The first thing in my head is I would be like, not rehearsing, but I would be like, hey, remember to mention they don't have to get the blah just because you recommended it. They can order whatever they want. They're an adult. Like, some people that are watching this are going to be like, what are you talking about? Of course they can order whatever you want. Or whatever they want. They're an adult. But some of you are going to be like, I feel that in my bones. It's the same thing, like, it's just, I don't know, it's like innate people-pleasing. That you're like, you feel compelled to be, like, aggressively polite, as frustrating as it can sometimes be. Okay, I'm stoked to have the Emperor here. That's why I think, you know, it was like olive math or something that How I Met Your Mother came up with. It was like, you know, a relationship works well when, like, one person likes olives, one person doesn't. You know, because the person who doesn't like olives, they just give it to the person who likes olives, then both of them are happier. One person because the olives are off their plate, one person because they get to eat more delicious olives. I feel like it's the same with, like, politeness. You know? If you got two aggressively deferential, polite people in a partnership, it's gotta be frustrating. Like, two of me would be... I love myself. Deeply and sincerely. But I would never eat if I was married to myself. Because I would be like, what do you want? And they'd be like, I don't really know. Do you want anything? And I'd be like, I don't really know. Do you want anything? And then, you know, one of us would just suggest something that they think is okay, but they really think that the other person is probably just too shy to say that that's what they want. And then we'd both end up eating at Arby's, you know? Instead, you know, what we got going on is, I would say like 75% of the time, I'm like, Kate, what do you want to eat for dinner tonight? She's like, I want this. And I'm like, yo, thank you. That was easy. Sometimes she's like, I don't know what I want. Please don't kill me, dude. And then we, you know, we'll make it more collaborative. There are times where I'm like, and that it's been good for me as well, but there's been times where I'm like, you know, I want this. It's rare, but it happens. And she's like, I'm not really feeling it. And then that's where you dig in your heels and you go, you know what? I'm fighting the battle over this one. I want this. And she's like, okay. It's a good situation. I'm cognizant of the fact, by the way, voicing these thoughts makes me sound like an insane person who overanalyzes every single action in their life. That's not the case, honestly. It's mostly just, first off, when you've got an overclocked cerebral cortex like this, as evidenced by my impeccable Isaac play in this episode, you know, you gotta put that brain power to use somewhere, even if it's just, you know, spinning clock cycles analyzing social behavior. Secondly, is a byproduct of the fact that we're 38 minutes into this run. So, you know, you gotta... I don't think we'll live if we do that. Okay, we lived. Spooky, though. Honestly, I thought to myself there, if we die, we freaking die. Who cares? Actually is completely irrelevant. We've put on a show in this video one way or the other. But to lose with Brimstone would be embarrassing. There's no doubt about that. I think it's just, you know, anytime if you voiced all of your inward thoughts like I do, you would be like, you'd come across sounding neurotic as well. Because, you know, people, they overthink things. It's natural. It's because society's got all these, you know, there's rules, there's guidelines, there's suggestions, you know, and you gotta navigate them with your own preferences, if that makes sense. Like you know, do you eat fish and chips with your hands or do you eat them with a knife and fork? That's a very human discussion to be having. There's a lot to tease out there. Well, why would they give you a knife and fork if they didn't want you to... Well, why would God give you hands if he didn't want you to... Did the cavemen have knives and forks when they... Well, do we live our whole lives based on the caveman? I don't think so. Did the caveman have electricity? And yet here, you know... So it makes it all so interesting. I think. Maybe. Anyway, my parents are here. It's just, The central is not even a conflict. The central, well, let's call it a conflict on a literary sense, but the central conflict of my 30th year on planet Earth is deeply feeling content living a life that looks sort of boring from the outside, but then having to constantly defend it at all times from people who are like, wouldn't you just be happier if like you did what you did, but you were wearing a funny hat? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't necessarily think so. People are always like, oh, hey, NL, you read a good book this weekend? My condolences. I was out at an industrial dance party under a bridge, and I'm like, dude, I'm happy you enjoyed it. If I were there, I would just be thinking about when I want to leave. So why don't, I'll enjoy the Anna Karenina, and you enjoy the industrial dance party under the bridge with the sweaters with the thumb hole cut out so that your thumb goes through the sweater and it's almost like you got like a fingerless glove for a shirt, you know what I mean? And I'll keep reading the button and we'll just mind our own business. We're just having conversations here, There's more than one way to eat a Reese's. Everybody's got to do what they enjoy in life. I'm just saying, If you're a thrill seeker, and I always come back to this point, this video is made to provide solidarity to the introverts. If you're an introvert, don't let the extroverts gaslight you, If you enjoy what appears to be a boring existence, but you find it, pleasant, that's fine. What you don't want to have is to be paralyzed by, like, social anxiety. And that's where, you gotta address. I think maybe that's people are well-meaning. They're like, NL's afraid to speak in public. That's not the case. Public speaking doesn't bother me at all. Conversation, small talk doesn't bother me at all. Believe it or not, people in real life seem to largely find me modestly pleasant to be around. Despite my Jack Nicholson in as good as it gets demeanor in videos sometimes. I lived the extrovert life to a larger extent in college. And in my 4th year of college, I was like, dude, I can't wait for this to be over. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I moved, and there was a myriad of reasons. Not all of them were good. Some of them were like, hey, I have a degree, but I don't know what I want to do with my life. But it's one of the reasons I moved to Korea, is I was like, dude, this, like, collegiate experience is getting kind of old for me. I think I've met enough new people for, one lifetime. Let's try something different. Let's go live in a place on planet Earth where I know nobody and do a job I kind of suck at. I didn't know I sucked at it at the time. Before I went to Korea, I was like, dude, I'm going to be a sick teacher. How could I not be the greatest teacher? I've spent my whole life being taught. And then immediately on the first day of class, I was like, whoa, this is not what I thought it would be. I thought all you'd have to do is be like, hey kids, I'm not like the other teachers, I'm a cool teacher. Instead, you do that, they start taking liberties. Hey teacher, oh, F you, then you gotta start being a prison warden. Everybody, some of the people watching this are probably teachers. All I'm gonna say is that when I bring this up on stream, people always go, NL, that's a very troubling view of what it means to be an educator. And then those people are predominantly not educators. Teachers, especially of like, younger kids, are like, yeah, that's pretty much, you pretty much got it. You're a teacher, but at the same time, you got to do like a lot of daycare and police work. Forget these dudes, trash. Get me out of here. I wish it weren't like that. I would love to pop into class with the, his 10 7-year-olds and write on the board. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the sons of York. And have all the kids be like, ooh. But instead, they're like playing, Digimon on their smartphones, as one does when they're 7 years old. It's not like I was any different. I don't really want to teleport here, because I don't know where I'm going. Anyway, this is what happens when the episodes get long. Start to You get deep into the NL psyche. Excuse me. Oh, he's dead. Ah! That was a genuine scream. But I wasn't in genuine danger. I think my psyche has just been broken down by a 45-minute long Isaac run where I lost the streak as the lost and then died again. And almost died while also having brimstone. It's just one of those days, dude. I think, like, from a gameplay standpoint, you gotta take the L. It's one of those days where, like, I'm thankful that this video and the Gungeon episode will probably go up on different days. Because otherwise, people would be like, is NL okay? He's exhibiting the same signs my uncle showed shortly before his catastrophic brain injury took him down. It happens. You know, you ever had if you write code, you're very familiar with this. You are a genius, but also you're like the dumbest person you've ever met, if that makes sense. You write code, and when you write it, you're like, I'm a god. I'm a magician. I took data, and I turned it into different data in the most elegant and beautiful way possible. And it works. And then 6 months later, you know, something breaks in your project, and you have to go through your own code to see what's going on. You look at some of the stuff you wrote back then, and you go, what dumbass wrote this? This is garbage. This is some of the worst code I've ever seen. You look at the comments, it's your friggin' name. It's the same boat. There have been days where, like, you know, my Gungeon and Isaac play, when I watch it back, I'm stunned. I'm like, how did I do that? And there's definitely days where, like this one, I'm sure, like, watching the video, I would be like, this is insane. Why am I so bad? How'd you get hit so much with brimstone? This is the way of the world, boys. You know what I honestly think caused me to have bad sleep last night was? This is like, maybe, it's not a very relatable bit, maybe. But I'm gonna put it out there just in case. I'm a creature of routine, for sure. I mean, I've 3,000 videos of this freaking game. You think I'm not a creature of habit? We usually eat dinner at like 9 p.m. By the way, in terms of conversations that as a streamer, I have no patience for, meal classifications is one that, dude, it just bothers me to no end. Sometimes we'll be like a Team Unity Tuesday, and, you know, it'll be 5 p.m., and Kate will, you know, make some lunch. And then everybody in chat is like, lunch? Lunch? It's 5 p.m. Or, my favorite, they don't even take it out of their own time zone. It's 8 p.m. First off, who cares? Who's your English teacher that taught you that this is the way that we should debate? Secondly, what's their contact information? Because I got a bone to pick with them. Thirdly, here's a philosophy for you, okay? We eat dinner at 9 p.m. Oh, that's too late. My family eats dinner. Okay, whatever. I don't care. That's your business, all right? Lunch is the second real meal of the day. In my world. Breakfast is the first real meal of the day. Dinner is the... Did I say third? Okay, you know what I mean. Breakfast is first, lunch is second, dinner's third. It doesn't matter when you eat it. Once you go up to like a paramedic shift worker, you know, they're like, oh, I just finished having some breakfast. Some breakfast, but it's 7 p.m., sir. They're like, dude, can you get out of here? I thought I told you. I got freaking lives to save. And much like a paramedic, I kind of feel like I'm out here saving lives. Like, spiritually, at least. But anyway. You know, we normally have dinner around like 9 p.m. And I like it. I like a late dinner. Because it's almost like, for me, it's a symbolizer of the fact that, like, the day is over. Everything after dinner is relaxation. My parents normally have dinner at 5:30. Because they're a little older. I mean, they wake up at 5:30 a.m. So it's, like, pretty much scales appropriately. Oh, dude, thank you. So we compensated last night and had dinner at 5:30. Or compromised, I should say. Which, to be fair, was like 8:30 their time. So they, they were like, I'm feeling pretty hungry. That's fair with the jet lag. But then, Kate and I were like out of whack a little bit. We had dinner at the time when we normally have what would be like our lunch, and then, I honestly think that that's enough for my idiot brain to just be like, I don't know what's happening, dude. I don't get it. It's got me all twisted up. I think that's why I slept badly last night. There's a few, and you might not be able to relate to this unless you're unless you get subjected to a torrent of everybody's thoughts at all times anonymously on the internet. But there's a few conversations you just have no patience for. That's not hot. This is hot is a really bad one. That's not cold. This is cold is equally bad, of course. Another one is, I mean, this is why it comes up in videos now and then, but like aggressive frugality. If you ever, as a streamer, if you're like, oh, hey, I spent $3.50 on the ingredients for my lunch today, there's always going to be somebody who's like, oh, hey, fat cat, must be nice. I spent $3.32 on my lunch today, but I guess I don't get paid the fat stacks for playing video games. And you're like, cool, dude. I don't know who you are. It sounds like you have a lot of discontent surrounding this issue, and I think you should talk about that with somebody. I don't think that somebody should be me. And the other one is, I mean, this is very, very whiny. I want that to be, I whine. I wanted it to be known that I do have it in perspective. In frank conversations with my colleagues and people outside of the industry, I always tell them, like, y'all, we got the easiest job of all time. It's actually, that's not to say, I mean, you could concoct of an easier job. But to be honest, short of like, Bill Gates is my dad, like streaming and being reasonably successful is the easiest job on planet Earth. So I'm like, if you can't find the time to manage your adult responsibilities while doing this, like, you gotta work on your time management. Like, to be honest, I work a 55 to 60 hour week. I also work out, not necessarily seriously, but for like 90 minutes 3 times a week. I take a full day off, I meet with people I have to meet with in order to, make sure my obligations to the Canadian government are handled appropriately. I have a, mild social life that is already too much for me, as evident. Excuse me, that's rare. Anyway, so I recognize, I say it all the time, we have, if you're a streamer, you have pretty much the easiest duties of any job in history. Even sometimes people are like, what if I was a chocolate bar taster? Dude, that would be worse. First off, you get sick of the chocolate bars. Secondly, if they're a taster, I bet some of them blow pretty badly. Thirdly, you're going to end up with some serious health-related issues if you're eating like 3,500 calories of chocolate a day as a chocolate taster. Also, I don't even think that's a job. I think they do like market research. I don't think they have one chocolate sommelier at the Nestle factory. Anyway, regardless. But the number one thing is like, every job has unique stresses. But if you ever complain about anything as a streamer, there's always some dude who works the worst job imaginable and thinks that now's the time to be like, you think your job is bad. I have to literally eat trash. I'm the designated city trash eater in my job. You should be thankful. You try my job for 20 minutes and see how you... I don't know why people on the internet are so dead set aggressive on trying to convince people that their lives are horrible. I'm not saying if you don't like what you got, why don't you change it? I'm just saying, like, you gotta let other people complain as well. Nobody likes a situation where you're like, nobody likes someone who complains all the time to begin with. I recognize that, and I try to fight that impulse in myself, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. But nobody likes someone who is like, like the one-up. Everybody knows someone in their life that's always like, oh, well, your dad's Bill Gates. Well, my dad is Carlos Slim. He's always got like one story better than you. Nobody likes the opposite of that either, which is like, no matter what hardship has befallen you, a worse hardship has befallen them. It's like you can't possibly be mad. You can't complain about anything because, like, you know, oh yeah, I mean, you went bald at 19, but have I mentioned how bad my breath is from working at the factory where you have to eat garbage for employment? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Why would there be an economic benefit to a human being consuming garbage? I'm just saying. You gotta let people complain. You gotta keep it in perspective. And trust me, if we're talking about rolling your eyes, when streamers complain, you're preaching to the converted. Sometimes, you know, it's when a streamer like has a bad game in League or something like that, they'll go off. And I'm like, brother, this is like, you had a bad game in a video game, and in the adult context, like on the spectrum of like real adult problems, that's a freaking 0. I'm not saying like, oh, you had a bad game, well, I lost my streak as the loss today. I'm saying like literally, people our age are having, you know, they're sick. They got a sick family. They got, you know, financial issues. They got kids they're trying to raise, you know? You gotta keep it in perspective that a lot of people would kill to be like, yeah, I got paid to play video games today, but my solo queue was pretty bad. I'm not saying you can't complain. I'm just saying, you know, you should complain, try to keep it in perspective and complain about only the stuff that is, try to complain in an entertaining way like Granddad NL does. As he makes the whiniest Isaac episode he's ever made. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, we're finally free with a streak of 1. Hey, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps the radio. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. See ya.